I think that most of my relationships probably shaped it more than where I lived. I first wanted to sing when I was probably about 4 or 5 years old, and I auditioned for a choir, and the choir director told my great aunt, who was the um, pastor of this church, that not only could I not be in the choir, but she didn't think that I would ever be able to be in any choir because I couldn't sing. Because my blues is not traditional. It is roots. It is a roots tradition for me. But I am a singer-songwriter, and it's a little bit funkier. It's a little bit mixed with rhythm and blues, and I believe in coming at it authentically.
Yes, we're very excited. Shakura S'Aida performs on the 28th of March at the NCPA Soulful Blues Festival. It's at the Tata Theatre, NCPA. And this is a multiple Blues Award nominee, including Singer and Entertainer of the Year, someone we've been waiting for a while to come onto Indian shores and stun us with her talent. Tickets are live as we speak at Book My Show, as well as the box office of the National Center of the Performing Arts. Shakura, wonderful to talk to you. How are you?
Thank you. I'm well. How are you doing?
Excellent. I'm going to start with a bit of your roots. You were born in Brooklyn, you raised in Switzerland, and then settled in Canada. How did those three cultural identities shape your relationship with the blues, a genre that's so deeply rooted in African American history?
I think that most of my relationships probably shaped it more than where I lived because even though we were moving around a lot, my mother is American, and so her influence on my life and the stories that I inherited through her and through my grandparents were stories that allowed me to stay rooted no matter where we lived. Certainly, living in Switzerland didn't do anything to increase my love for roots music at all. There it was more about classic rock, and then it was disco, and some German songs thrown in there for good measure. And living in Canada, when we moved back to Canada in '77, I think most of the music that I was listening to again was classic rock, and then it was funk, and then it was hip hop, the beginning of hip hop. So anything that I have in me that is roots oriented is certainly because of what I was listening to through my mom, through my dad, and through my grandmother's plethora of records that she would get. All the kids would play music in her house in her brownstone, and then that music would stay there. So whenever I went to my grandmother's house, whenever we visited, then I would be listening to that music. So that had a huge influence on me as
How
well.
lovely. How lovely. Shakura, will you take us through the band? I believe you're bringing some amazing, masterful instrumentalists here with you to India. So we'd love to know
Who
about the
told you
band.
that?
Well, actually, I was doing some research on you and I read
Yeah.
a magazine that the NCPA puts out called The On Stage. And
Yes.
that said that this is going to be a powerhouse band. So we'd like to hear it from
Yes.
you.
Well, I think, any musician, any Canadian musician, typically is a powerhouse musician. We are known for having some of the best musicians in the world, so much so that our musicians are hired by a lot of international artists. Everyone from Prince to Lady Gaga, uses Canadian musicians, and mine are no exception to that. Roger Williams is on bass. We've known each other for almost 40 years. Kunle is a Nigerian guitarist. He's coming with me. And also Nikki D. Brown, who is out of Ohio. She's a lap steel player, and has a band called Nikki D and the Thunder and the Sisters of Thunder. Nikki D and the Sisters of Thunder, and they play gospel and blues and are incredible. But she also guests with me whenever she can. Ajibola is the most wonderful percussionist, and I think you're really going to love her and what she brings. I believe incorporating not just how do I say this? Not just great musicians, but a diversity of musicians. a melange. So I really believe as a woman, it's important to work with women as much as possible. So I try to include women as much as I can. And then on drums, we have Warrell McFarlane, and he's just, he's turning into the boss of us all. We've been doing these live rehearsals in Toronto, and he's been telling everybody what to play and how to play and how long to play. And I just sit back and let it happen because it's not me doing it. So it works out well. But yeah, everybody in the band is a master in their own right. Kunle just released a single, and he plays beautifully and softly, and just has the most wonderful voice. So I'm looking forward to everyone in Mumbai hearing this band of just incredible musicians and what we're able to create together.
Shakura, treat me as the resident idiot here, but also for the benefit of Indian audiences who'd like to know more. The lap steel, is it a kind of a Hawaiian guitar?
Well, so Nikki D is actually from the Pentecostal church, where the sacred steel was the instrument of choice, and so my album "Hold On to Love" featured Chuck Campbell and the sacred steel, or pedal steel as people call it, and Nikki actually plays a Hawaiian guitar, and so the sound that you hear. It's really interesting to listen to it because what they're able to do with it almost sounds like you're listening to people at times going and things like that. It's really super interesting to listen to, and Nikki is quite masterful on it. So yeah.
You know, you've read so much about India. I know you love India. We'll come to that in a bit. But you must know that we have a very rich theater and theatrical musical history dating back to thousands of years in the courts of the kings and queens. And musical theater and theatrical performance is something that we're very passionate about. And it's remarkable that before you became known as a blues powerhouse, you worked in the theater and musical productions. Talk to me about that phase and how that early stage experience influenced the storytelling that we see in your live shows now, Shakura.
Well, I do know that people of India are known for, not just Bollywood, but for theatrical. So I'm looking forward to making sure that the audience participates fully and physically and vocally, in the concert. I'll say that off the top. I started off as an actor, and in high school, I went to high school by the name of Monarch Park, and my theater arts teacher, Mrs. Caddick, was this incredible woman. I speak about her pretty much in every single interview because I believe it's really important that we always acknowledge how much teachers can impact a student's life. And Mrs. Caddick changed mine. She really, really encouraged me theatrically. We had to do monologues for our exams, and I did mime for a while. And I really found my home in theater because it allowed me to lose myself. I was a kid who had moved every year and a half when I was a kid, from different states to different countries, and was always the outsider. And through theater, I was able to be in someone else's mind and belong, you know. And when I was, I think in grade 12, Mrs. Caddick told me that I needed to go to a certain school to become a singer because she'd heard me sing on occasions. I went, well, I like singing, but I think I want to be an actor. And she said, oh, you'll always act, but you need to sing. And I was like, okay, if Mrs. Caddick tells me to do that, then I'll do it. And I went to a musical performance school and went there for a minute. It didn't work out there, but it really got me on the path to learning about music and how that can touch people. I first wanted to sing when I was probably about 4 or 5 years old. And I auditioned for a choir, and the choir director told my great aunt, who was the um, pastor of this church, that not only could I not be in the choir, but she didn't think that I would ever be able to be in any choir because I couldn't sing. So singing was not something was came naturally for me. I'm half deaf. I have a severe hearing loss in my right ear and a moderate in my left, so I don't hear bass. But acting was something that came very naturally to me. So while I was trying to find my footing in music, I was doing theater and I was writing, plays, doing workshops of different characters and things like that. And then slowly but surely, the music took off, especially when I discovered that I was half deaf and I was able to figure out how to navigate things on stage. And it's something that I really enjoy doing. I love theater very much. I love film and television very much. And I've been lucky to be able to incorporate that in my career from time to time.
Thank you for that amazing personal nugget from your life. You know, preparing for this interview, I was listening to your album "Hold On to Love." It's been about, I think, 4 years ago, 3 or 4 years ago when you released that one.
2022, yes.
Yeah, and I was reading up on it, and a quote came up saying, Shakura says she was inspired by Tracy Chapman. It took me back to my childhood. In the late 80s, I must have been 8 years old, there was a Amnesty human rights concert in our capital, Delhi. And
Yes.
my dad took me to that show, and there was Bruce Springsteen and there was Sting. But there was Tracy Chapman alone with an acoustic guitar playing
Yeah.
Fast Car and talking about a revolution and all these wonderful songs. And she just transported me into another world. And as a kid, it just changed my life. So I found it lovely that you would say she's one of your heroes. Talk to me about "Hold On to Love," and you know, since there hasn't been a release after that, has there, Shakura?
I've released a single.
Single, yeah, yeah. Which is
I
keep
released a
it keep
single
it
in
moving.
November,
Yeah.
and I have a new
So
single coming out in April. But yeah,
yeah,
the
talk to me
album's
about
coming
the
out
album.
later.
Yeah.
Yes. So Hold On to Love was an album that actually came out, I guess, near the end of COVID in 2022, but it wasn't my COVID album. It was an album that I started writing in 2017 with Donna Grantis. And it just so happened that life happened and we weren't able to get it out for 5 years. And it really, for me, was a love letter to everyone who allowed me to exist. We are hopefully not alone on this world. Hopefully there is at least one kind soul who sees us, who holds us up, and who allows us to continue day after day. And for me, that is a huge community of people. Some people I know professionally and many who I know personally, who over the years who have helped me raise my children and helped me raise myself. And this album was a love letter to them, and especially to my daughters, who, even though they're my daughters and I'm their mom and I'm supposed to be the support for them, through them, I have learned so much about life and about surviving and about thriving. And I wanted to make sure that I left something for them. So that's what this album is.
You know, I heard "Keep It Moving," which is the new single, and I think it's lovely.
Oh,
And
thank
for a phase, I remember during Christmas time, you had just released it just before that, and it was on loop for a while. And I was wondering, I said, when is she going to come to India? And then when the announcement happened, I said, wow, because the other artist, Sugar Ray, we've heard in India. He was here for a blues festival a few years ago, but you
Wow.
haven't been here before. And I believe the producer is Best Kept, who's doing a lot of interesting work off late. So
Yes.
talk to me about "Keep It Moving" and the story behind it.
It's my mantra, for the first time in over 30 years, I moved into a home by myself and it's just me and my dog here. And there are times when you live by yourself, when you need to pep talk yourself. That's keeping it 100. Sometimes you need to pep talk. And so sometimes I'm walking my dog, and I remember this one time I'm walking and my head is just overwhelmed with all the things I have to do, because people think you're a musician. You get up, you sing, you play the guitar, and then you go about your merry way. But the truth of the matter is, as a musician, as an independent artist, we're running a business. and we're running all aspects of the business while trying to stay creative. And my mind was just full of all of the business things I had to do. And I couldn't breathe. And I knew that one thing was important, and that was to keep it moving. And I literally just kept saying to myself, keep it moving, just keep it moving, just keep it moving, just keep going through it. You'll get through it. Just keep it moving, just keep pushing. And that was a song. By the time I finished my walk with my dog, I'd written the entire song. And it really is a mantra, you know, sometimes it's all you can do. All you can do is just to put one foot in front of the other. And somehow through that, you'll get through to the other side. It might take a while and it might be a struggle and you might trip along the way. But if you keep it moving, sooner or later, the light will break.
How lovely.
That's it.
Let's talk about the performance on the 28th. You took us through the band.
Mm,
We're very proud of the National Center of Performing Arts. There are multiple theaters. There's the Tata Theater where you're performing. There's the Jamshid Baba where the Symphony Orchestra of India, which is a Western classical symphony orchestra, performs.
mm,
There's the Little Theater. There's the Godrej Theater. There's also an art gallery where, you know, sculptors, painters all exhibit. It's really and there's a research library. I wonder if they've sent you any pictures and how much you're looking forward to being at the facility and performing. We'd like to hear that.
I've actually gone. I've listened. I'm a sleuth. I'm online and I'm looking at everything, and it's such a prestigious venue to be in, you know, and looking at all the different artists that have been in it. And I wish that I've been able to come and work with the orchestra because I do that a lot. But I'm really looking forward to being there and meeting everybody. And Lizanne has been my contact, and she's been absolutely amazing. So I'm looking forward to meeting her and hugging her and yeah, just being in Mumbai, period. It's something that's really timely. I'm looking forward to being amongst people who aren't, you know, who aren't Westerners.
And I believe you have many India connections in the sense that you love reading Indian authors. You
Yes.
have friends of Indian descent in Canada, and you know it just warmed the cockles of my heart when you talked about your children and how they've taken care of you. And in India, 9 out of 10 of us we live with our parents, and we have a
Mm.
very strong bond with our parents, our grandparents, our children,
Yeah.
and it's just
Yes.
one big family for us. So I mean,
Yes.
I feel there's a lot of Indianness in you.
Well, there's probably, if we were to go back DNA wise, there probably is.
There
You know,
probably is.
my mother is my best friend and also my manager.
Wow.
You know, my father has been our tour manager on the road. Unfortunately, they're not coming with me this time. My daughter is tour managing this time, and she'll be with me. Her dad has Indian heritage in his family. You know, from Jamaica, from the Indians who moved to the West Indies. So we're really excited about being there and her, you know, touching on Indian ground. Uh, Family is the most important thing to me. And I think family, there's the family, blood family, you know, which I'm super proud of. You know, my daughters, my sister, my parents, but also the family that you choose to be around. And everyone in my band has a strong bond with family. It's really important to me because it's important that you understand unconditional love. It's important that you understand that even if people get on your nerves, you know, even if you have a disagreement with them, they're family. And you treat them as such. You have their back. You take care of them. So I love the fact that you know that families live together still in India. That is you know I watch Indian matchmaker or matchmaker all the time, and and I'm like, match me, match me. But anyway, you know, this whole idea of the families meeting the person that you're interested in, or even the families picking the person that you're supposed to be with, it appeals to me because they know your heart. They know your heart more than anyone, you know. And my parents, my sister and my daughters and I lived in a multi-generational home for about 5 years. And so every morning I would sneak up to my parents' place after the kids went to school, and I sneak into my mom's bed and I just watch her sleep until she woke up and was startled. So, you know, I love that idea of keeping your family close. in
That's
all honesty.
sweet. That's sweet. So I have Indian musician friends who've also done a bit of acting. And
Mhm.
sometimes when they do shows, there are people who'll come for the music, but there are people who'll buy tickets because they say, "Hey, it's the guy from that show." And my musician friends will say, "Doesn't matter why they come, as long as there's bums on
As long as
seats
they
in the
come.
hall."
Yeah. Yep. It's
Well,
true.
well, the point I'm
True.
trying to make is, even if the, even if you know you go in and you look at that audience and you see the demographic and the passion points, there is a large number of them who are going to come into the Tata Theatre saying, "Oh my
Because
God,
of Schitt's
Lena
Creek.
from Schitt's Creek, who sang 'It's Raining Men, Hallelujah,' is here in Mumbai." Because the show is really popular here, Shakura.
It's
Really
popular
popular.
everywhere. It's an
Yeah,
amazing
yeah.
show. Yes. Yes. Rest in peace, Catherine O'Hara. Rest
Yeah,
in peace.
yeah, yeah. So I'd
Yeah.
like you to talk about that. I mean, the fact that you played Lena in Schitt's Creek, and also there's Cora Lewis, mother of Batwoman in Batwoman,
Yes. Yes.
and those things. I understand as a musician, you might not get that much time doing the acting thing with the touring and this and that, but you must have enjoyed your stints.
I love that you understand that because most of the auditions happen and I can do the audition, but I can't do the shows because of my tour schedule. So I've lost opportunities to audition for a lot of different things. But Schitt's Creek to me was a master class. It wasn't big when I auditioned. And the audition process was literally going in, right, reading some lines and then singing a blues song, and the agent John Cumberford was like, just sing something, just sing something. And I went, okay. And I just sang a blues song, and the next thing you know, I got it. And then being able to be on set with Catherine O'Hara and Eugene Levy was it was a masterclass watching them talk to each other. They're soulmates. So how they communicated, they would go off to the side and just, whisper to each other. He would say stuff to her to sort of direct her or give her an idea. And she would nod and she'd go, yeah. And then she would say something back. And then they would come back into the scene. And it was interesting watching her. And I have to tell you something that I haven't told anybody in media before. I blew the biggest chance. I'm standing there and I'm going over my lines because I'm really, really nervous. And I'm going, I would love to learn from a person like you going over the lines. And Catherine O'Hara walked over and she said, what are you doing here? Don't you know they're using you? Can't you see that? You're way better than this. You deserve to be in a big town. And I went, oh, and I thought she was talking to me, S'Aida. So I'm like, is she telling me to leave? Is she telling me they're manipulating me? And then it dawned on me, she's acting. So I went, no, I really like it here. And you could just see Catherine O'Hara lobbed this generous, beautiful, flowery ball at me. And what did I do? I not only dropped the ball, but I stepped on the ball. I sat on the ball. I let the ball go flat. And she just kind of went, and she walked away. And that was it. Other than that, we did the scene, but I never got a chance to make up for that awful dropping of the proverbial ball. But it was an amazing experience, and I'll never ever ever in my life forget that.
Lovely. So, with blues music, how do crowds in Europe compare with the ones in North America? And in that aspect, I mean, what are you expecting from Indian audiences? Because, this whole thing about bringing your storytelling and blue notes to an Indian audience for the first time. So, talk me through that.
Okay, so I have no expectations ever from an audience. And I also hope that the audience has no expectation of me other than I'm coming in authentically to share music, to share life, and hope that we find points that we can connect on. That's my hope, but I have no expectation. Um, Audiences in Europe, depending on what country, have different appreciations of blues. They all love the blues. It's actually surprising. There's a thing in Memphis called the International Blues Challenge, and they invite blues bands from all over the world. We've had bands from Korea and from just everywhere. I don't know that they've had one from India yet. Maybe we need to get one from India.
Mm.
But we've had blues bands from all over the world, and they come to Memphis to compete against each other. And some of the international winners have, in fact, been from other countries. When you're in France, they really love authentic blues. They love hearing from the people who created this music, from African Americans. When you're in Italy, they just love blues. They love a rocking guitar. They love traditional blues. They love both. And they love females singing. In Germany, they love rocking blues. In Switzerland, they love both again, but they tend to love a bit more of electric guitar. So it really depends where you are. UK, again, it's more of a rock blues, not as much traditional. What I hope in India that will be appreciated is the authenticity, because my blues is not traditional. It is roots. It is a roots tradition for me. But I am a singer-songwriter, and it's a little bit funkier. It's a little bit mixed with rhythm and blues. And I believe in coming at it authentically. I'm not trying to reinvent the wheel, but I am actually not even trying to, I am coming at it as someone who has lived all over. And so my blues tradition is a little bit different, and I hope that they'll enjoy that. And Canadian blues, I don't know how many Canadian blues artists you've had there. Our tradition is a little bit different, because our tradition comes from being influenced by the American blues scene, but it also comes because there were a lot of Black Canadians who came through the Underground Railroad, and who came through the ships, the port ships from the Caribbean islands and from the States. The Black Royalists, they also had a tradition of music that was instilled in them, that they brought up and became part of the blues scene here. And so when you hear our blues, it is rooted in that as well. So, I really hope that everybody just really comes open with their dancing shoes on, and willing to dance and sing and move and love each other.
How wonderful. ShakuraSAida performs on the 28th of March at the NCPA Soulful Blues Festival at the Tata Theatre, NCPA. Tickets are live, going very fast at Book My Show, as well as at the venue, the box office at the National Centre of the Performing Arts. I really appreciate your time, and see you here in India. I shall be in the front rows cheering for you.
You better be in the front row with your dancing shoes on.
Thank you, Shakura. Cheers.
Thank
Bye-bye.
you so much for your time. Bye-bye.